Greetings and salutations, everyone. Wow, I am almost hitting 3,000 subscribers. I may hit it today, who knows. If I do, I want to thank everybody for all of your support, for subscribing, for listening, for commenting, for everything that you guys do for my channel. Thank you so much. You mean so much to me, guys. Today I've got 4 great encounters to share with you. Dogman, Skinwalker, Unexplained Cryptid. Before we get into these encounters though, a couple links I'd like to share. As you know, I am a commercial-free channel, so I rely on my Patreon, my PayPal, and my merch links to help this channel continue to grow and go. I also have a second channel, which is for creepypasta, fan fiction, and scary voice acting. If that's anything that you're into, follow that link below, give those stories a listen, and you may just like them. And with that, guys, let's get on with these encounters, shall we? Our first encounter of today. About 2 years ago, my best friend and I were driving home from late night classes. We live in a rural area and take these roads daily. We've had a few strange encounters on these roads, but this one stuck with me. It was pretty dark and we were going about 40 miles an hour. I never drive faster than that on these roads because of the deer and other wildlife. The road has a few houses, so it isn't completely wooded. I'm driving along and I see some eyes and a dark figure that resemble a dog. I stop the car to let it cross, and it runs across the road at the edge of the bank and stands on its hind legs and runs like a human. My friend and I are scared because of how creepy this was. We tried to register what we saw and decided that it was possibly not a dog. It may have been something else. It was too small and skinny to be a bear. All I can conclude is we saw a skinny canine creature run across the road, then stand on its hind legs and run into the woods. Today's second encounter. I was driving home late one night at the time where there was absolutely nothing else around. Not even the highway nearby had any commotion, if I remember correctly, but not too unusual due to the time and the fact that it's a weeknight. It's been a while, but I'd say about 1 to 3 a.m. maybe. On my way home, I take this one road that splits off into several different roads on the right to different subdivisions. Driving down, I noticed something in the middle of the road. It was completely dark, and it felt like none of the lights from neither the street nor the porch lights or my headlights illuminated it at all. A pitch black creature, but I wouldn't even call it black. It was like just nothing, and everything in my body told me to run and look away. I couldn't take my eyes and place it on this thing no matter what after my initial brief glance. My body instinctively made me turn into the first street I could on the right and turn off my lights and car after making another turn to try to hide. That's how bad this thing scared me. I looked to the road behind me to see if anything crossed over so I could catch a glimpse of what I saw, but couldn't wait in fear, turned my car back on and took off to my house from the connecting road between the subdivisions. It was extremely large. I'm about 6'1", and this thing would easily tower over me. If I'd have to say between 8 to 10 feet tall, but if it were taller, I wouldn't be surprised. The shape was very similar to something with barely lanky legs, but I have no idea how long the legs were, and were connected to a body with an extremely puffy like lion's mane of spikes or strands of something black around its body's chest and head area, with large horns on the top of like a moose's head. No idea if it had any kind of neck. It was completely still as I drove, as far as I could tell, but I couldn't look any longer than my first glance when I drove towards it. Black is the only way I could describe this thing. It wasn't black, it felt like it was just nothing. I don't know how to describe the color. I freak out just trying to remember the color. It wasn't a moose, despite the similar horns, because it seemed to be bipedal or quadrupedal, although I'm not sure if I saw arms. Like an ape in proportion, maybe. This was in the southern Ontario Canadian region, if that would help. Middle of the city. I've never seen this thing again, or any time before. Our third encounter of the day. I once dealt with a similar Dogman-like creature when I was in my early 20s, back in 2011. My grandpa Tom was complaining that there was something causing a ruckus late at night for the past week, so I, being the nice grandchild I am, decided to stay at his house over the weekend to see what was up. Sure enough, late night I started to hear noises, so I went out with my .45 in hand, ready to confront whatever was outside. I expected to find a coyote, which are common in the area, but instead I saw what can only be described as a dogman, with the upper half of a dog and from the waist down a man. As I approached the dogman, it quickly turned its head 180 degrees like an owl and let out this gut yip and started to charge at me in reverse with extreme haste. I emptied every bullet into the abdomen, and though it slowed the dogman down, it still was able to crawl with its muscular upper dog legs at me. Dear God, I thought to myself as I looked, stunned at this thing in the eye, and saw only the devil staring back at me. I quickly grabbed a nearby gardening hoe and with a mighty swipe yelled, "I'm gonna send you back to hell, you goddamn dogman-looking motherfucker." The blow landed on its grotesque dogman head with brains erupting from all directions. Thankfully enough, it to put down the creature. I decided not to tell my grandpa what caused the noise, as I don't think his feeble heart could have handled such a tale. He was, after all, kicked out of the local church because he thought the altar boy was possessed by demons. So I took the body of the dogman and buried it behind the house. 5 years later, and now there's an apple tree growing where it was buried, never bearing fruit or leaves even in the spring. Our fourth and final encounter of today. My first experience with a skinwalker happened when I was 16. I was in Boy Scouts and I was on a camping trip with some of the guys from my troop. We were deep in the woods, about an hour hike from the nearest trail entrance, and then about an hour hike from the nearest hiking trail. We didn't have a scoutmaster with us on this camping trip, so we're on our own, but we were armed. We all had a hunting rifle as well as a handgun. There was 5 of us. On the first night, we heard distant muffled screams, but never thought anything of it, saying maybe it was just an animal in heat. The rest of the night was uneventful. We just shot the shit and ate dinner before going to bed. On the second day, we got up and hiked to the pond to fish. But on the way there, things didn't feel right. It was dead silent. Usually you'd hear some birds singing as well as the wind rustling and leaves in the trees. But there was nothing. After a while, we reached the pond and started fishing. After about an hour, we realized something, that there were fish in the pond, but they were all dead. So we decided to go back to camp and hunt for our dinner. When we got back to camp, though, we found something disturbing. A mutilated deer had been left about 10 yards from our tents. After we found the deer, we heard a scream again, this time much closer. We had decided to stay at camp that night, keeping our guns trained in various directions. I didn't think any of us got much sleep that night. At about 2 in the morning, we started hearing footsteps. Step, 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 step. Then we started hearing a strange laugh that kept going for about 30 minutes. Then I saw it. About 50 feet away, there was an approximately 6 or 7 foot tall creature walking on 2 legs with its back hunched over. Then it looked at me. In the dim light, I couldn't see a face. It had no eyes. And the way it moved was extremely unnatural. It would twitch around. After a while, it walked back into the tree line. When morning came, I told everyone what I saw, and we decided it was time to leave. Fortunately for us, the hike back to the car came uneventful until we got to the car. When we got to the car, we saw that the deer's head was left on the hood of the car. Needless to say, we never went back. Well, there you have it, guys. 4 cryptid encounters for Sunday. I want to say 2 of the 4 were Dogman. Possibly a third, maybe the Dogman, that black unnatural thing with the lion's mane. That kind of sent me in that direction of a Dogman. The Skinwalker encounter, just keep them the hell away from me. I don't know. There's just something that just creeps the shit out of me about Skinwalkers. Even reading the stories about them just sends shivers up my back. I love Dogman encounters, don't get me wrong, and I love Skinwalker encounters, but to be honest, every time I read a Skinwalker encounter, I look over my shoulder. No, I'm just kidding. But I get a little creeped out. Anyway, guys, I want to thank everybody again for all the support. 3,000 subscribers. I think I'm like 8 away. I don't even know. I know I'm close, but thank you guys. You guys are amazing. I'd never even imagined this. I remember for the longest time I had 9 subscribers and people were telling me I sucked. I still suck, but you guys like it. Whatever. Anyway, I'll keep bringing the stories to you if you guys keep coming. Have a great day, guys.